Okay guys, welcome back to First Person Radio. Today I'm going to be covering what I think should be the first thing you should do if you're getting into radio communications. And it's not by Baofeng, believe it or not. Although, you know, they're great for what they are, and I think you should totally get one. First, I would get one of these. This is an RTL-SDR USB dongle. You can get them for about 40 bucks. This one's pretty well worn, as you can tell. And this thing is a wide spectrum radio receiver. You can listen to all kinds of cool stuff on it. They usually come with this little whip antenna here. That's great for listening to like VHF or UHF, very local stuff. Not so great if you're trying to get long range over the horizon HF radio. You need a much longer antenna. But it doesn't have to be fancy. This right here is about 60 feet of wire that I've got in a tree in my backyard that I just fed in through the window here. I put an eyelet on here, a ring terminal on here, and got it all shrink wrapped because this is one of my ham radio antenna wires, but you can literally just have a piece of wire stripped on the end, and you touch it to this antenna, and you use a paper clip or a chip clip or whatever, and now I have a 60-foot long antenna. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. You don't have to buy, several $100s worth of antenna. Just a thin, measly little wire in a tree is all you need. So once you get one of these, you should follow the guide on their website to install the drivers for it and install the software. They recommend a software called SDR Sharp. There's a bunch of different software that you can use for this. SDR Sharp works fine. And that's what I'm going to use today for this demo. So I'm going to be doing decoding of JS8Call, which is a very popular digital mode that works great in low signal conditions. So pray for me. My software, my screen recording software is really crappy and it might crash the computer. But I'm going to try and do a screen record here so you guys can better see what I'm working on. All right, so I got my RTL-SDR plugged in, got the drivers installed. I'm going to open up SDR Sharp. Here we go. In this software, I'm going to set my audio device to speakers. It'll usually be set to speakers, or whatever your default audio device is here. Don't worry about that for now. There's a lot of controls here. Don't worry about that too much. The first one we're going to configure is this one right here, configure source. If you've installed your dongle properly, you should be able to select it from this drop-down, and it should say something involving RTL-2832. So that's my USB dongle, sample rate 2.4. Now, it'll normally be set to quadrature sampling, and this is what you would use if you're sampling, if you're listening to VHF or UHF, so like Baofeng frequencies. At very, very low, very long range frequencies, you want to use direct sampling Q branch, okay? So we're gonna hit close. And now I need to dial in whatever frequency I wanna use and whatever operating mode. So I have narrow FM, wide FM. So wide FM is like your broadcast FM stations. Narrow FM is like what the Baofengs use. It's a narrower bandwidth, works better in poor signal conditions. AM, like AM radio or shortwave broadcast. Lower sideband and upper sideband are going to be your ham radio bands, ham radio voice transmissions and digital transmissions. Double sideband is both of these at once. You're probably never going to use that. And then CW, Morse code, and then raw. Not really entirely sure what that does, but I think that's like straight up IQ input or something like that. I don't understand it. Don't worry about it. We're almost always going to be using LSB or USB on HF, although we might at some point use AM. So to do a digital mode, we're going to be using USB. But for now, let's just start with some audio, listening to some voice signals. So I'm going to click lower sideband because the 40 meter band for voice, lower sideband is what people typically use. That's just a convention. This is going to be where all of my activity is going to show up. So let's get started. I'm just going to hit play and turn on my receiver. Now you can hear my audio coming through. This right here is the entire frequency width that I'm looking at. This is a waterfall. So this is showing the intensity of different signals over time, right? Like as it scrolls down, that's the past, and this is the present. So I can see if there's like a Morse code signal, it'll show up as like dashes and dots right here. So let's zoom in a little bit. I'm going to use this zoom slider to look a little closer at the 40-meter band. This is the 40-meter ham band. These are all ham radio signals. I can click on one to listen to it. And then I can use this to fine tune. All right, so there's one signal. There's another. Up here. So these signals that are bouncing up and down are usually single sideband. These signals that have a central peak in the middle, here, let me scroll off of this. So these signals bouncing up and down are single sideband usually. These signals with one central spike and then two little shoulders that are bouncing up and down are AM. So that's like a shortwave broadcast. So I'm going to flip to AM and click on one of those. Sorry, AM. There we go. Yeah, so there's Spanish language shortwave radio AM. But lower sideband, lower sideband is what we're going to be using for voice. Wow, being a little temperamental. And when I tune this off frequency, if I'm not exactly off frequency, it's going to be shifted up or down. So listen to this signal as I tune past it. It's high-pitched until I'm on, and then it's low. And then it's going to get lower pitched, and it's going to just sound unintelligible on the other side. So let me pick a different one. So I'm going to go from high to low, tuning down over it. So you can see that it starts out high-pitched, gets normal, and then continues to get lower in pitch. So if something doesn't sound right, if it sounds shifted up or down, try adjusting your tuning here. So right now it's tuning by 1 kilohertz step. Almost always someone's going to be on an even 1 kilohertz because they're going to have a digitally controlled radio. But you can tune by finer increments if you want. So this will be by 10 hertz, and you'll hear a much more smooth slide across the frequency as I do this. So let's see here. Maybe a little faster than that. I'm on the other side of him. You get the idea. So that's kind of what it's like tuning around on analog single sideband. So now let's go to digital and do JS8Call. So digital is always in upper sideband. I'm going to hit stop here, and I'm going to hope that it doesn't freeze this software. This is where I sometimes lose my screen recording. So to do digital, I'm going to need to install two other things. One is whatever software I'm using to decode the digital mode. In this case, it's called JS8Call, and it's free. The other is a software called Virtual Audio Cable, which is also free. And all that is it's just an aux cable inside your computer, basically. I'm going to take the audio output that would have gone through my speakers in this software and plug it into Virtual Audio Cable. And then I'm going to get the waterfall for this, whatever segment I tune in here, right? I'm going to tune in this little 3 kilohertz spectrum here, and I'm going to get this waterfall and this sound piped into a JS8Call. So I'm going to set Virtual Audio Cable as my output device, and then I'm going to go open up JS8Call. Now, normally I'd set my frequency first, but to be honest with you, I forgot the frequency used for JS8Call. Let's do 7.078. This is the default frequency for JS8Call on the 40 meter band, and that's going to be upper sideband. So 7078. I'm going to click on the letters here, top half to increase it, bottom half to decrease it. 7078, upper sideband, and then I'm just going to hit play. And now instead of getting my audio through the speakers, it's going to instead go through that virtual audio cable software. Now I'll also have to configure JS8Call. So under configurations, or sorry, file settings, I've got, you could put in your call sign or your grid locator if you had one here. I just have dummy values in here. Go to the audio tab, and then for your audio input, usually it's going to be set to microphone. You want to set it to virtual audio cable. So it goes out from the RTL-SDR software in through virtual audio cable. Then hit OK. Now signals are going to show up as these vertical stripes here. You can, on other digital software, you'll click on one to decode it. JS8Call is decoding this entire window all at once. So I'm already decoding something right here. This mode is extremely slow, but works very well in low signal conditions. So here's some old traffic from last time I was listening here. I'm going to clear these out. Let's see here. There we go. So now I'm decoding something here. The offset is 1675, which means that it is, so this is 16, which means that's 1700. So 1675, I was decoding something around here. So that was this signal right here. I've got this heartbeat signal at 1202, which is like right here. So the offset is the leftmost edge of these vertical stripes, wherever they are here. And here are all the call signs that you've decoded and where they've showed up. So you can have several conversations going on at once in each of these little rows here at different points on the waterfall. And then you can have all the call signs listed here. So if you have particular call signs that you're interested in listening for, you can check for them here, or you can just kind of look through all the conversations here. And whenever you want to read one of these conversations, if it decodes for quite a while, you can just double click on it and it'll pull that conversation into the center window here and highlight the call sign and the offset, right? So you can see we're getting quite a bit of activity here. The other thing that's important to note about JS8Call is it requires an accurate clock, because these horizontal stripes here are time, right? And it uses 15-second increments here for little blocks of time to receive signals. And if you're not synced up properly, and if these signals are coming in not neatly in one of these little buckets here, like if this little signal here were to straddle that line because it came in about 5 or 10 seconds too late, it wouldn't decode properly. So I can go over here to timing, and right now my time drift is 0, which means that it's running on my computer system clock. And if my computer system clock is accurate, if I'm connected to the internet, then it all works great. If I'm not connected to the internet, or the other station I'm trying to listen to is not, and their clock is off by a second or two, I might need to adjust my time drift. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can use this set time drift to now. So as soon as you get to the top of an even minute, you can click that and it'll set that time drift. Or you can click TX start or TX end if you can hear a signal starting or ending at an exact time. Or you can use this setting here, which is automatic time drift. It'll just kind of play around with the settings until it finds something that decodes, and after 3 decodes, it'll put a time drift up here. So I'm going to click that and give that a try. And it should not take too long. I'm getting quite a bit of activity here. But yeah, this is how to receive JS8Call for about $40, and whatever it costs you to put a 60-foot wire in a tree. And these stations could be thousands of miles away, or hundreds of miles away, or 100 miles away. So this is great for, intelligence gathering and just kind of situational awareness type stuff. Even if every single radio station and every single TV station and all the emergency broadcasts in your area isn't working, if some ham radio operator somewhere is running a station off of a battery, you might be able to hear him this way, depending on the frequency and the time of day. I've got some other videos on how to figure out what frequency to use for what time of day and what distance. Feel free to look at those. But this is your learning tool to get better and better at that. So here it is. It's playing with my time drift. First it decoded 1, had me at 1,000 milliseconds, so 1 second. Now it has me at a half a second time drift. In a little bit, it'll settle down and pick 1. So you can just listen to the traffic coming through here. These are like, the format is going to be, this is one person's call sign, the transmitting station. This is the station that he's talking to. And then this is whatever that message is. Right now, this is just a heartbeat and a signal to noise ratio, which is basically just, I heard your signal, here's how strong you're coming in. This is all automated, right? People leave their stations online to provide this to people and let them know who they hear. And then they can come back at the end of the day and see who they heard over the course of the day. And then you can hear individual conversations like this. The dots here indicate that it missed part of the transmission. So that it knows that there was some part of the transmission that it couldn't decode. There's some missing information there. So you can get free-form conversations. You can get kind of automated back and forth. There's all sorts of different things. Whenever you double click on one of these, it'll pull it up in the middle, highlight it on the waterfall, and you can kind of read what the last little bit of that conversation was and who the call signs are. And then it'll highlight their call signs over here. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. This is a lot of capability for $40 and a little bit of know-how. So I would highly encourage you guys to get one. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions. I will answer them as best I can. Keep in mind that I am not really an expert on this stuff. I know how to do it, and I'm trying to figure out ways to do it on the cheap. But there are definitely more technical people than me out there who could probably do a better job. But if you're not happy with the information I provide, I'm happy to give you your money back. So, all right, I'll catch you next time. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments.